Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown of mighty warriors, and yes, there is more than just a 1v1 fight. This is a free-for-all between myself, Ice Power, Dahv plays, as well as Falcon. Should be a good fun fight. Those who don't know how a free-for-all works, basically as it sounds, everyone is up against everyone, and it is a point-based system. So even if you die, you can still win, but there of course is a reward of points for the last man stand, or in this case, hopefully the last beast standing, because we are going to be bringing out the new glorious Beastmen. We have Ungor Herds slotted along for a rather cheap and cheerful front line, mixed in with some Gore Herds as well, because I'm trying to cram in as many of the cool new goodies as is physically possible. We have the Grog Hooves of Wolf's Run, which is a pretty damn cool name, coming in with their Vanguard, Poison Attacks, Regeneration. They can be a really good skirmishing tool, and we have some Centaurs with Throwing Axes, and in free-for-alls, I think mobility can tend to be quite key. You need to be able to get around the battlefield and assassinate key targets. So to make even more mobility for our army, we do have Harpies in the sky, supporting a Feral Manticore. Down low, we have a Bray Shaman of Shadows on the new Tuskor Chariots, which looks so cool. They actually look way better, in my opinion, than the Razor Gores. Though they're meant to be weaker, those tusks just look really ferocious. We have the Pendulum and Enfeebling Foe, the Blood Brute Behemoth. You may have seen in one of my recent videos. He's going to be a standout for the Beastmen, I think. He slaughters large creatures with deathly efficiency. We also have Torx the Brass Bull, leading the battle line with his mighty war axes. He's a scary beast for sure. I'm going to be coming in here with the Brass Body, Blood Beast, as well as the Rune Tortured Axes and Slaughter's Call. Now, I thought I brought a pretty cool build. I thought Icepad brought a pretty cool build, as well as Falcon, but Dahv decided to one-up all of us. This is the Dawi deployment zone. It has one unit of Slayers and Thoric Ironbrow, but the rest of the build has been placed in this corner. I believe everyone was saying, if anyone picks Dwarfs, we're going to go for you. So Dahv decided to hide in the corner like a true Dawi, and I absolutely love it. He's literally the opposite side of the map he's meant to be on, and he's surrounded by enemies. Basically a load of miners. We have the Noggle and Ironbreakers, and loads of rangers. I'm not going to spend too much time going over these builds, because of course it is a free-for-all. Elven Reavers for the High Elves, a mixture of White Lions as well as Swordmasters make up the main battle line, as well as some rather swift Illyrian Reavers, led to battle by an Archmaid of Metal, coming of Searing Doom and Final Transmutation, which is even better now because of how these air effect spells are working at the moment. Skink Cohorts shall be in the force of the Lizardmen. I must admit, Ice's build is pretty damn fun. We have Saurus Warriors, we have the Shredder of Lustria, a Skink Oracle, and Nakai the Wanderer backing up a Quattle in the sky, making these guys invisible. I'm really excited to see people try to work Nakai's Roar ability, that increased melee attack in, with the Pale one, the new regiment round Troglodon, which has a similar effect. And I spotted the Shredder of Lustria early on, and I really wanted to try to chuck up the Blood Brute Behemoth up against such a mighty beast to try to see, who could be the true apex predator. Now, one-on-one, I believe the Shredder does win rather comfortably, but of course, in the chaos of war, you never know what could indeed happen. And I have just discovered a load of rather thirsty Bugman Rangers who are unleashing shot after shot into the Grog Hooves, who are going to rather swiftly try to fall back and make a quick exit. Luckily, that regeneration will help them out quite a bit, but only regenerates if they're above 50% morale, which is a nice little niche, actually. I quite like that as a regeneration requirement to get these guys up and running. Torx had to smell blood. No, Harpies are going to be diving in on the Bugman Rangers, and yes, they're pretty decent in combat, but with the support of Torx the Brass Bull nearby, they certainly could struggle. Looks like the Lizardmen shall be fulfilling the oaths they were sworn before the battle to slaughter all Dwarfs, and the Ungor Herds now going to be running in onto the miners, who unfortunately haven't been able to use up all their blasting charges, which is a little bit unfortunate for them. The Blood Brute is going to be swirling, dicing, and having a whale of a time, jumping on those Bugmans and already dishing out 4 kills, 1 for each hand. We do come with a Pendulum down the line of the Ironbreakers. Unfortunately, I didn't overcast it there, which I certainly should have done to do more damage. But Torx is now sweeping those axes back and forth with big old cleaving strikes alongside the Bray Shaman. And I love the fact the Dwarfs still get Rune of Doom, despite the fact the High Elves have decided to go over there and show Thoric what's what. But the rest of the High Elf build is slowly marching. As you can see in the top left, points-wise, the Dwarves are actually in the lead, and that's because their entire army has been fighting. But I think that's going to go rapidly downhill for them You can see a load of their rangers are starting to fall back here as the noose does start to tighten a little bit with the Lizardmen engaging as well. The Shredder of Lustra as well as the Quattle finish off a lot of those troops that we managed to force back here. So the pesky Lizardmen also betraying us while still attacking the Dwarfs. Saurus Warriors are getting lovely road attacks here onto the Bugmans, but not before we get a pretty meaty pendulum down the line. And I think you guys can see how this game is going. I see the Shredder sees me. We want that epic duel, and an epic duel we shall have. The Blood Brute ignoring the Dwarfs all around it, marching into a run, straight slicing the Shredder from behind. And we do have the support of Torx the Brass Bull, which could be pretty pivotal here, with the Shredder actually taking quite a lot of damage initially, though he is a rather thick boy, still nearly 9,000 HP at the moment. Saurus Warriors are dishing out the damage to our Gore Herds. The Grog Hooves are starting to move up with the Centaur allies, as well as the Harpies. Unfortunately, our Manticore, I think we just forgot about for the most part, and it was killed by the Hell Forces. And down comes the Quattle as well, swooping in. And we have so many single entity monsters here, trying to scrap it out, and the Blood Brute is getting distracted now, going after the big old giant duck bird instead of the Shredder. But treachery once more, an Overcast final transmutation comes in by the Archmage of Metal there, and Falcon is going to start racking up those points rather quickly. The big bird is suffering, but so is the Blood Brute, who is surrounded now by Nakai coming in here and getting shot down by the Skink Oracle, who's so powerful. I really do think the Skink Oracle is one of the best units for the Lizardmen that have come in. It is really expensive though, so you know, it certainly should be able to do a decent amount of damage. Torx Brass Bull is trying to hold the line. The Blood Brute is being forced back here. The Shredder proving who is the Apex King once more. Torx, though, not going down without a fight. And if he can take Nakai on, or find him in a situation where it's one-on-one, he can really butcher up Nakai quite nastily. The poor little Brayshawn is getting finished off here by the Quattle, but not for also breaking it. It looks like the Brayshawn was actually terrified there and did win that one-on-one engagement. Torx Brass Bull has Brass Body popped, which puts him in pretty good stead up against Nakai, and it looks like we're just about recovering from the huge reeling damage we sustained there. Now, we are currently in second. Dwarfs have fallen behind quite heavily, and I don't think they've really got any troops left on the battlefield, but neither do we, and I don't think we've quite got enough to catch up with Ice Power. And there's still the Fritter Falcon, who may be so low down on the points at the moment, has basically his entire army left, and he can certainly feast upon a lot of what remains. I'm trying to get my Centaurs out of these dangerous situations, but with Reavers closing in, as well as some War Lines. I love the War Lines, man, they're so awesome. Coming in, snapping and biting at the hooves there of the Centaurs. They're going to be able to drag them down, unfortunately for us, and I think Torx is now in really uncomfortable territory. Yes, all-round Trollodons are not quite as good melee combatants as Carnosaurs, lacking the anti-large or frenzy, which is a really big impact people don't really take into consideration too much, but they bring poison, so they're certainly not bad in melee at all. Torx Brass Bull is running for his life at the moment. The Mighty Duck up in the sky is getting pecked apart, unfortunately, by the Archmage, and it looks like the Quattle may just about be able to escort us off the battlefield. I think Torx is the last unit we have standing, and we have fallen short, but how short is the question? Falcon is certainly going to be the last elf standing here, with so much of his army left around, but he is a long way to catch up. Being down here on 6,825 points at the moment. Leon Reavers will better finish off the Brass Bull as he slinks away into the shadows once more. He'll certainly be back in the future though, and all round Torx is a really cool addition to the Beastmen, who does some pretty good damage and is rather tanky for such a large beastie. Nakai fighting over the corpse of his fallen friend here, who's slumped in the snow with many elves climbing on its carcass at the moment. And Nakai trying his little heart out here with the Skink Oracle, but the Shredder has returned as well, and that Shredder is pretty healthy right now, 6.5k HP, and there's no kind of designated anti-large left whatsoever for the High Elves here. Found transmutations, of course, could be rather scary. How much damage output has the Archmage got so far? Nearly 2,000 is very good work by her. Swordmasters do come into engagement. Nakai charging furiously into combat once more. We're going to be seeing an Earthblood come down. That does come in from the Skink Oracle with a really beautiful and rather flexible spell selection he can often bring to the battlefield. Nakai's doing good work here, and I'm a little worried for the High Elves. They're starting to break and run. The War Lines are terrified. Shredder is super healthy, but this could be their undoing. It looks like we are going to get another final transmutation coming down. Notice, in fact, a Flock of Doom catching all of these units. This is actually really scary. The Shredder, 136 kills, trying to carry the day alongside the Skink Oracle. Nakai, if only he had brought his buffs right now, he could be giving the Shredder even more melee attack, even more physical resistance and all that good stuff. Nakai does get hit by an Earthblood, and it looks like the Skink Oracle is the focus of attention here for the Archmage. But the Skink Oracle was saying, hey, get back here, I'm going to eat you for my supper. Archmage, though, this is good play by Falcon, and he's such a talented player. Simply drives in the Ellyrian Reaver archers and then pulls back through his own troops. It's much easier to make a quick getaway in that style. Even in a free-for-all, he's kind of, bringing the pain here. We do have White Lions coming back. It looks like we are going to be seeing another either Flock of Doom or Final Transmutation. It is a Final Transmutation, and that could end up being the nail in the coffin with the Shredder, Nakai, and the Skink Oracle taking massive damage right now. And a lot of the hives were looking rather shaky, but there are White Lions on the periphery here with the Reavers and Reaver Archers. Plus the Archmage can obviously rally a lot of the troops. It looks like the Shredder, unfortunately, may be biting the bullet, but up to 1,557 points. Has Falcon done enough to drag himself back into this game? It is going to be very tight. The Shredder is moving out here, rather surprisingly. It looks like it's going after the Reavers. It definitely needs to just stay and fight, get as much value as possible. Paul Nakai has been broken, though it looks like he may be able to rally. Seems to be forgotten about here. His leadership still is 21. Skink Oracle and the Shredder are starting to really feel the pain right now, with the War Lions nipping at their heels. Sword Masters trying to sever tendons in their legs, drag the beasts down. And it looks like they may well get their wish, but when the Shredder called for aid, who was there to answer? Nakai charges in, dancing, and absolute glee and joy of the carnage. Up to 46 kills, and he's certainly got some decent damage value, I would bet as well. Skink Oracle and Shredder once again managed to break off some of the White Lions, but the mighty Shredder, down to minus 16 leadership, is unfortunately running for its life. And the Shredder in this kind of situation can be quite scary because it comes in with the negative leadership. But unfortunately, like a sad puppy, he has fallen to the ground here, a little bit tired and out of it. And you can see the light fading from his eyes, which is never a good sight. And with that, the Skink Oracle is going to stand no chance. Nakai's dead, and he's going to be maybe running for his life with some pretty serious PTSD to share with the Slans. A valiant defeat by us. I think we came third there in the end. Yeah, it looks like just about managing to outdo the Dwarfs, who, quite frankly, had the badass tactic of just teleporting across the map with their entire army and saying, come at me, I'll take you all on at once. Turns out that's not a good battle tactic, but it certainly is very fun and very thematic. And we actually did a couple of free-for-alls. I think Dahv, for those who don't know, Dahv actually does cast stuff on YouTube himself, is going to be casting out other free-for-all, I hope. It's really fun, with some really cool thematic armies. If he doesn't cast it, I certainly will in a week or so, but obviously give him time to do that. And yeah, we did pretty good actually, got some decent score on the board. Torx the Brass Ball leading our forces, getting some pretty solid damage value. But Falcon just shy, so close, but kind of delaying that engagement early on and going after the Dwarf Lord and stuff may have actually cost him a little bit, because he then can get in and really dish out the damage he needed, although 3.4k on the Archmage is scary stuff. Ice Power as well with the Dread Sorin, my god, getting some massive damage value. I will look through the damage dealt, damage value and kills of all of the units in just a second, but if you guys enjoyed this free-for-all, feel free to give it a big old fat thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more glorious Total War Warhammer content, as well as commenting down below what you thought of the battle, what you'd like to see in the future. I saw some people asking for me to cover the Regiment of Renowned Troglodon and Carnosaur, and don't worry, I have videos going to be coming out in the next couple of days showcasing those units as well. But anything else you'd like me to cover, please do let me know down below. There's also links in the description to my Discord, where you can submit replays, get involved in the tournament scene, and just chill out with a load of really cool people. Train your skills up into new or experienced players. There's also links to my Patreon as well as my Games Planet account down below. You can support me both by doing both of those. Patreon is kind of like a monthly subscription type service, and Games Planet, you can get this DLC, Total War Warhammer free, basically any game on Steam at a discounted price through there, and it is all supported by CA themselves. So let's go through the damage dealt and damage value rather swiftly, because we've got quite a few units to eat here. But yeah, Torx Crossbow, 30 kills, 1.5k damage value, not too shabby, particularly because we did chuck him in the deep end a little bit there with some of the big boys. Brave Shaman, 2,205 damage value, doing some glorious work. I wish we had overcast those pendulums early on. We could have done even better, I think. Our infantry troops has died. That is kind of their role here, though, to allow the rest to bring the pain. Unfortunately, the Centaurs, as well as the Manticore, really struggled. Oh my god, Manticore 0. Mainly, that's my fault, because I was lacking this skirmish nuance with them, I suppose, because what I really wanted to do was get the big fight between the Blood Brood up against the Shredder, and I was just driving towards him all game. 1.7 damage value is really not bad, considering what he was up against, surrounded by larger, scarier single entity monsters, but the Shredder is still the big boy in town. The Kai the Wanderer, 1.7 damage value, doing a good work there. 3.7 on that Skink Oracle, fantastic work by him. He does cost roughly about 2,500 when you get him with about 3 spells. But still, yeah, very powerful. Saurus did solid work across the board. The Quartal, of course, is the gimmick of shrouding your troops to get closer to the enemy, but still gets some decent work done as well. 1.5 damage value in the Shredder, 4,788. Over 24,000 damage dealt, 208 kills, plus you really can't count out that discouragement ability he has in the late game there, making a lot of the High Elves run for their lives. For the High Elves to stand out, definitely the Archmage of Metal coming in 3.4k damage value. Everywhere else just kind of struggled. I mean, the Swordmasters 1.9, that's not too bad at all. I think those are most likely the ones who are left to dispatch Thoric. And as for Dahv, unfortunately the tactic didn't work, but my god, was it the coolest tactic in battle for sure. Ironbrow again, 850 damage value despite being isolated and alone. I don't think anything else really would have paid for itself, just being swarmed really early on. There's not that many units you can bring that have the Vanguard potential for Dwarves, but maybe one day we will get Bugman himself with some more Vanguard Dawi units. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, peace, and as always, stay awesome.